you could use these if you've got more time to prepare or if you still want to improve. And the good thing is about these tips, and why I've added them as bonus tips, is that not only will they help you in your IELTS speaking exam, but they'll also help you for the rest of your English speaking life, okay? Because I know from Spanish that you can pretty much not, you can pretty much carry on learning the language for a long time. And in fact, if you don't, it usually gets worse anyway, so you might as well. Let's get going. So the first tip I want to give you, well, we're going to look at mimicking, but then we're going to look at voice tips and breathing, and then confidence. More confidence if you're still nervous. So let's have a look at the first one, mimicking. What is mimicking? Well, what you do is you listen to maybe about 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then you try, 10 or 15 seconds of original English, native English speaker material, maybe the news from CNN, maybe the news from the BBC, and then you try and reproduce exactly, word for word, what you have heard. And the advantages of this are insane because you're going to be speaking at the same rate as the native speaker, with the same speed. You're going to be using exactly the same intonation, or at least as close as possible. Your pronunciation is going to increase tremendously because you're just going to be copying the perfect way of saying it. And you're probably going to increase your vocabulary. It's a very economical way of learning, and it's very natural as well. So the way you do this is go to maybe the TED Talks. Get the audio versions though, okay? Get the audio recordings, because if you're not watching the video, then your ears are going to work twice as hard, and that's exactly what we want. And here's another bonus tip. Use headphones because they stimulate the auditory nerves in your ears, which makes it a lot more effective. So we're going to do a Google search, put TED Talks MP3s, or go to the TED Talk websites, download the MP3s. And the advantages of using these two is that they come with transcripts, so you can check if there's a word that you don't understand. And listen to about 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and try and reproduce it. And if you're really serious about this, you can record what you're saying and then compare them both, okay? And here's another tip. For task 2, the questions are very broad. Sometimes the topic's education, sometimes it's science, sometimes it's biology, whatever. And if you know that you hate questions about economy, or if you hate questions about education, then start learning about it. Be mature, start learning about it, start filling your head with ideas of this stuff, because if you don't, on the exam day, it's going to be a million times harder to think of ideas, okay? So start listening, reproduce what you hear, listen for 10 seconds, pause, reproduce, rewind, check, okay? Maybe you want to spend an hour a day doing this if speaking's a real difficult part for you, okay? So mimicking is cheap, it's easy, and you can even do it when you're on the bus, when you're on the train, while you're waiting, while you're at work, if you don't like your job and you want to get fired. No, you could do it maybe at work if you've got some spare minutes, okay? Now then, voice tips and breathing, okay? So the first tip I want to say is projecting, and this sounds a little bit weird, but what you can do is visualize the words coming out of your mouth and basically flying in midair, and this improves your clarity, your breathing, and the projection. I think this is mainly to improve your projection. And basically you're firing the words out of your mouth. But this is really good if you know that some people don't really understand what you're saying when you're talking. Okay? Try using this tip. It's powerful. And if you can make it into a habit, that's even better. And the really good thing is that if you ever have to give presentations or in English, or you've got job interviews, using these skills of projecting, you're going to sound 1,000,000 times more confident, and you're going to be able, and that will just, if you're sounding confident, you're going to behave more confident. The people are going to respond to you differently. So these are good techniques to use for job interviews and presentations as well. Okay, which is roughly how you want to be treating the IELTS speaking anyway, because it is not a chat with your friends, it's a formal exam, and we need to be professional about this. Number 2, fill your lungs with air. Do some breathing exercises. Okay, this means if instead of normal breaths, like we go, okay, and if you can, learn to breathe using all your lungs, not just the short, shallow breaths. And if you want more information about this, jump onto YouTube and you'll see some breathing exercises. And you'll also find some voice exercises where you can warm up your vocal cords so you sound a little bit richer and perhaps even more attractive or more interesting, okay? But you can research that if that's one thing you think you need to do. For example, you might find that you've got a really timid voice and you talk like that, then in which case, jump onto YouTube, start filling up your lungs with air, and bam, and blast it. All right, final one. Now, even though you've got a set formula and you've been practicing and you're familiar with the exam and you got the formula from my course, I can totally understand if you're still nervous. Okay? In this case, if you're still nervous, even though you've done the course and you're still a bit worried, then jump onto YouTube and put something like confidence visualizations or confidence routines or confidence NLP, and you can watch the videos there. And once again, this is another skill that's going to help you not only with your English ability, but for job interviews, for work environments, for maybe your social environments, whatever. And all the information's on YouTube now. There's no excuses, and you can spend maybe just a week on this, okay? And this is the problem with all this stuff available. It's difficult to know what to do and how to do it. What I personally do is, like, every month I say, okay, I'm going to work on making my voice a little bit deeper. I'm going to work on my breathing. I'm going to work on my vocabulary this month. Yeah? And slowly but surely I do improve the way I speak, not only in Spanish but in English as well. Okay? And the key is just focus. Focus on one ability per month. 30 days, an hour a day, bam, bam, bam. This way you can improve. Well, almost there. Next module, you've got the mock exams. Work through those. Do the questions, answer the questions, and all the best.